What's going on, guys? It's Quick Conks today. We're going to be watching top 15 most scary creepypasta stories ever told. If you want to check out the video, link will be down in the description. This video was actually recommended by my brother. I just got out of the shower. My brother's like, hey, check out this video, react to it. So that's what I'm going to do. But yeah, guys, again, check out the video, link in the description. If you want to see more of top 15, let me know down in the comment section. But yeah, guys, let's do this.
This video contains some graphic and horror content and is not recommended for...
Let me go ahead and pause it there. I'm going to be cutting parts out because I don't want to show the whole video. So it's going to go to from 15 to maybe 10. Okay, so just letting you guys know. I'm going to cut some parts out because I don't want the whole thing. I don't want to get hit with anything. But yeah, guys, let's go.
Those who are faint of heart, who have serious health conditions, or are under the age of 14, viewer discretion is advised. Number 15, Candle Cove. Told through a series of forum posts, Candle Cove began on the horror forums of Icor Falls on March 15, 2009. A person under the name SkyShale033 asks if anyone remembers a children's show called Candle Cove. Several other members soon respond, stating they remember the show and begin to discuss the bizarre plot of what amounts to a rather disturbing television series. The premise was a young girl befriending a group of pirates and the crazy antics they get into. Characters included Pirate Percy, a ragdoll-esque puppet who appears to have bits of other dolls stitched to it, the terrifying Skin Taker, a skeleton who would utter the threat to grind your skin, and Horace Horrible, a monocle-wearing mustache villain and spy for the Skin Taker with a menacing grin. The discussion continues with the writers reminiscing on the more odd and scary moments of the show, even an infamous episode with only screaming for audio and the main character crying. The posts end with a user by the name of Mike Painter 65 remembering how he asked his mother about the show, and she said how she remembered he would go to the TV the same time every week to watch Candle Cove, only for him to be watching static for 20 minutes. A fan video of the screaming episode has appeared online, recreating the surreal episode. Fans of the story wishing to keep the idea alive jokingly commented how the video was just static, hopeful to freak out unsuspecting viewers to no end.
What's going on?
Number 14, Robert the Doll. Artist
Why am I
Robert
watching this tonight?
receives
Oh my
a
gosh,
doll
it's
in
like
his
8.
childhood between the late 1800s and early 1900s, which he names Robert after himself. However, the doll begins to take on a life of its own and starts terrorizing the Otto family after a servant was suspected of performing black magic on Robert. Apparently, Otto could be heard by his mother talking to Robert, and she would hear Robert respond. Household objects would move around or go missing, and Otto would always say Robert did it when asked by his mother where the objects went. Otto kept Robert into his adulthood and reportedly drove his wife insane. Neighbors would report seeing Robert running around the house when nobody was home. While sounding like a Child's Play inspired story, the true horror in this creepypasta is Robert the Doll actually exists and is on display at the East Martello Museum in Florida. The story of Robert's devilish activities are also highly documented, which is why the story has remained popular. Enthusiasts travel to the museum in order to get a glimpse of Robert, and it has been reported that Robert hates having his picture taken and will blur himself out of pictures with a blinding light even though a person's flash is off. Staff have also said they have found Robert in a different position in the morning than he was in the past evening. Readers of Robert's story
now I want to go see him and try
whether the stories are true or if they are only an early example of creepypasta. A fair warning: Robert the Doll hates skeptics. Number 13, The portraits. A pure example of the terror creepypastas can provide in a person regardless of the length. Portraits is a short story detailing a hunter lost in the woods coming across a derelict cabin. Upon entering, he finds nobody inside. Night is beginning to fall, so he decides to wait for the occupants to return and explain his story. But hours soon pass and he figures he'll just spend the night there. As he lays down to sleep, he can't help but look up at the portraits all along the walls, staring down at him. He tosses and turns, but can't seem to rid himself of the sight of the haunting portraits until he finally rolls towards the wall and manages to fall asleep. He is awoken by the morning light and sits up only to be both puzzled and horrified by the fact there are no portraits on the walls, only windows. Short yet sweet and truly psychological, Portraits plays on a person's fears of becoming lost and alone with darkness approaching. It also has the creepypasta charm of acting quite normal through most of it, and then placing the absolute terror into readers with the last line. Number 12. Squidward's suicide. While no longer possessing the same strength and horror it did when it was written, Squidward's suicide was at a time the most popular creepypasta on the web. In the genre of lost episodes, the story is told through the eyes of a Nickelodeon intern in 2005, and he and his co-workers receive a tape labeled Squidward's Suicide. They all decide to watch the film and find a disturbing twist on the beloved SpongeBob SquarePants program. The episode depicts the typically cynical Squidward sitting on a bed while unsettling sounds play in the background. Quick flashes depicting dead children and other macabre scenes appear on screen, and the sounds increase in volume. Squidward now appears to be faded black and his eyes are turning red. At the end of the video, Squidward shoots himself as a strange demonic voice eggs him to do it, and the tape ends. The employees dismiss the tape as a prank, but they check the timestamp and are alarmed to discover it was edited only half a minute before they received the tape. They hand the tape over to authorities. The investigation quickly turns cold. A video on YouTube has been released depicting the disturbing video, and while rather tame, it is still not for the faint of heart. Number 11. Ted the Caver. Ted and his friends Brad and Joe enjoy exploring caves in their area, and their tale is told through a series of blog posts. Ted explains how he, Brad, and Joe were exploring a cave near their home and came across a very narrow hole they wished to pass through. They drilled a hole large enough for them to fit, but soon things take a bad turn. The group starts hearing disembodied screams and finds strange hieroglyphs on the wall. After exiting the cave, their ordeal only gets worse. The three of them suffer from hallucinations and nightmares of their experiences in the cave. The three men decide to go back to the cave one last time in order to find closure for their psychological trauma, and have opted to bring a gun and knife with them on their last exploration. The blog ends with, "See all of you soon," with a lot of answers. Love, Ted. That was the last anyone heard from Ted, and the blog has not been updated since. The fear behind this story is that of claustrophobia, especially with the amount of photos Ted posts of his experience in the cave itself, showing off the tight passageways they have to cross through. Fear of the dark and becoming trapped are also heavily used, especially since Ted, Brad, and Joe's whereabouts are unknown, and the story is ended ambiguously. Number 10. Quantum suicide. Less nightmare fuel than in providing a thought experiment which will stay with the reader long after they finish reading the story. A woman becomes tired of her self-perceived mediocrity and decides to end her life. After purchasing a handgun, she writes her family a suicide note and goes off into the woods. She rests at a tree, places the gun in her mouth, and pulls the trigger. However, the hammer falls, but the gun doesn't fire. She tries again and again, but each time results in a misfire, causing her to grow angry. The narrator then details how she read a thought experiment years earlier about the idea a person can obtain immortality via the quantum suicide. They kill an alternate version of themselves instead, leaving them unharmed. With each pull of the trigger, she has killed herself in a parallel reality. 10 days after she left, a search party finally finds her still against the tree, having died of dehydration. The narrator then reveals while the suicide can't kill a person, the rule doesn't take other causes of death into account. Number 9. two-sentence horror stories, a
Man,
subgenre
it's
of
9 o'clock at night.
creepypasta. Two-sentence horror stories are exactly as their title sounds, horror stories told in 2 lines or less. While some might find this silly, once they begin reading examples, it is easy to understand why they fit in so well to the horror genre and creepypasta world. Many of them are written by internet users and range from bizarre to terrifying to sleeping with the light on tonight. Some examples: by Graboid27, I can't move, breathe, speak, or hear, and it's so dark all the time. If I knew it would be this lonely, I would have been cremated instead. By The Real Hat Man, I woke up to hear knocking on glass. At first I thought it was the window until I heard it come from the mirror again. By Gutseless, there was a picture in my phone of me sleeping. I live alone. By Vault Kid 321, I can't sleep, she whispered, crawling into bed with me. I woke up cold, clutching the dress she was buried in. If any of these pique your interest, it isn't hard to find more with a quick search on the internet. A fair warning, a lot of these are nightmare-inducing, and you may wake up in terror with a 2-line story yourself. Number 8, 1999. Similar to Candle Code, a Canadian man from Calden, Ontario, begins posting blog entries talking about a television channel known as Calden Local 21 and details his experiences watching the show Bobby and Mr. Bear's Cellar. Bobby was a man's hand who walked around like a person, and the writer talks about how he only watched a few episodes until one called Playing with Scissors. A hand is seen trapped on the table, jerking violently around, while Bobby enters holding scissors and appears to stab the captive hand repeatedly to the point bone is showing. Mr. Bear's Cellar appeared to have a dangled dress as a bear who would interact with children on the show. However, his sinister motives were soon made clear as the episodes progressed, and eventually the broadcasts were shut down by police, though Mr. Bear fled arrest. The man begins to search for the identity of Mr. Bear in hopes of finding justice to the children he murdered and probably molested, and he updates his blog posts every so often. While posts are far and few in between, the entire lore of this story makes it horrifying, playing on the fear of pedophiles and child murder. Number 7, The Keyhole. The enjoyability in this story is its obvious inspiration from gothic horror literature. Keyhole is a short story about a man who checks into a hotel and is advised by the front clerk to under no circumstances peek into or enter the room with no number on it. During the second night of his stay, the man can no longer contain his curiosity and he decides to have a look inside, but the door is locked tight. But he peeks through the keyhole. He is surprised to see a pale woman resting against the wall on the opposite side of the door. The next day, the man once again looks through the keyhole, but only sees a reddish color, as if something is blocking the hole. He figures the woman felt she was being spied on and covered the keyhole to prevent this from happening again, and decides to ask the woman at the front desk about it. Upon making his inquiry, the woman sighs with disappointment and asks if he looked through the keyhole, which he confesses to. The woman explains a man murdered his wife in that room, and she now haunts it, which is why it is out of bounds. She continues by saying eyewitnesses describe the woman as very pale, except for her bloodshot red eyes. Number 6, Reddit No Sleep. A rather bizarre entry to this list, but this subreddit has earned its place here. No Sleep is a forum section on Reddit where Redditors can post their own horror stories for the masses to read and critique. As of January 2016, the subreddit has over 4 million subscribers, and hundreds, possibly thousands of stories are posted every day. Stories vary in content from paranormal experiences to murder to people reconciling memories of their past. The most terrifying thing about the stories is the effort authors put in to create a sense of believability to them, and they are often written to resemble entries seen on Confessions or Let's Not Meet. The all-time top post is called "I'm a search and rescue officer for the U.S. Forest Service. I have some stories to tell," by Search and Rescue Woods, and is not one but a collection of 6 short stories from a man's experience in the field, from finding missing persons dealing with delusional people and hints of some sort of spiritual evil being present in the area he works in. It became so popular, a part 2 following the same themes was written. No Sleep certainly deserves its title, as like other creepypastas, it ranges from the bizarre and thought-provoking to the nightmare-fueled bound to keep people up at night.
I don't go on
Bong
Reddit.
Qian Dong
I've never
Ghost,
been on
taking
Reddit.
creepypasta to the next level. Bong Qian Dong Ghost is a webcomic about a young girl walking home in the mid-evening when she encounters a woman walking ahead of her. As the girl gets closer, she notices the woman is amiss, and she is walking with a disfigured leg. As the girl stops to assess what is happening, the reader is taken by surprise when the comic suddenly moves as the woman turns her neck completely around, with the sound of a neck cracking accompanying it. The woman says she is looking for her baby, and the terrified girl points ahead, saying the baby is over there. The woman continues walking as the girl turns to make a quick getaway in the opposite direction. Believing she is safe, she suddenly hears the woman scream behind her, and when she turns, the reader is once again startled by another motion frame of the woman rapidly spider walking towards the
Man,
girl.
come
and the
on, I'm
readers
getting ready
get
to
a
go to
full view
sleep.
of the woman's disfigured
just got
face.
chills on that
The
freaking-
story ends with the girl explaining how she was found unconscious by a passerby a few hours later, and how she learned a woman committed suicide in the apartment complex next to the incident by jumping from the top floor after her baby was taken away. The story draws inspiration by J&K horror stories and movies such as Ju-on and Ringu, and plays a psychological game with the reader, with the fear of anticipating a scare more horrifying than the scares themselves.
Alright, man, come on. Alright, guys. That's going to be it for today. I know I didn't cut parts out. I just kind of watched 10 of them. I gotta get off of this, man. I'm so scared. I almost said I'm still scared. I'm not scared. It's just I'm watching this at night. Let me show you. It's completely dark out there. Tell you what, man. But yeah, guys. Oh man, I hate my brother. We watched one. I think it was like a week ago. That wasn't. I thought it was the same one, but it wasn't. This one, Thunder. That freaking number 5 just scared the crap out of me. I just turned around, and then the spider one. Nope. Yeah, guys. If you want to see more of top 15 or top 5 or Planet Dolan, let me know down in the comment section. But yeah, guys, it's been Creepypasta. Peace.